All right. Oh.
Michael, I'm going to need you to be objective
You heard me sighing.
here.
You caught the sigh on that, but keep going.
Caught the side. This is taking a lot out of Michael because we are talking presup apologetics.
Oh, no.
The bane of everything Michael stands for.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this episode because I've always been fascinated by presup apologetics, mainly because a lot of those who endorse it, I like. When I think of people, presup, you think of people, and I don't necessarily love James White, but I think he's a smart guy. The more I listen to him, I kind of get aggravated.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like he knows a lot, but
I don't ever listen to his podcast
Yeah.
ever anymore. But when I did listen to it, you don't come away with like, okay, I am caught up on the hope of this, or this is what I'm going to go do. Like,
same thing. I don't listen to it anymore, and I feel like I don't know if it's like monologues are hard. I don't know what it is, but it's like I'm just like, ugh, that was a slog. If there's like a specific thing, other people, I should have looked this up. It's whatever the Cy. Do you know this guy? His name's
Cy Young. He was a pitcher. Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly. Vodi Bakum would say he's pre-sup Cy 10. Bruggen Kate, I'm probably saying right. He's a Canadian apologist who does the presup method a lot. People like Jeff Durbin. I'm kind of fascinated by it, and I won't get into it more, but I think there's an appeal to
Cornelius
it.
Van Til.
Van Til, Bonson, that's right.
Yeah.
Some of these people, they have some famous debates. I did see a clip, maybe because I've been looking at this for a long time, saw a clip of John MacArthur. Have you seen this? He's talking about, he said Van Til lectured his first week of seminary, and he was like, it was the worst week of my life. He's like, I couldn't follow anything. He's like, I just wanted to like preach scripture and more text, and I got like lost in all of this stuff. Yeah. But really, I think all of these people that really endorse it, really smart people. And I like a lot of their system, but we'll get into it. We got the best person that'll talk through it, the apologist extraordinaire. Because I think there's and you probably, but there's a lot of things, maybe not a lot. There's some things that precept really does well, but maybe the whole system is flawed.
Yeah. I'm not necessarily agreeing with the statement that the first part of the statement.
Let's get into it. If this doesn't pique your interest, I don't know what will. So let's go ahead and take it to the next level.
Let's fire up that twangy music.
From the hearts of the Low Country in South Carolina,
it's the Take Two podcast, where we take theology to the next level.
And what I want to do here, I'm going to go over some notes. Michael and I both prepared by reading a book by a presupper. And I think he did a good job of articulating his view. Like, I think that kind of makes sense.
If by that you mean I understand what he believes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
This is going to be a great podcast. I can't wait. So I put some of these notes together. I'll look over it or I'll go through it as we're going through it. Feel free, jump in and be like, man, because what I'm going to try to do here is represent what a presupper would say.
Yeah.
Not necessarily say, man.
Because you're not necessarily a presupper.
No, I like a lot of presup, but I'm like 80% there and I can't get the whole way. I would love it if it could be a tool in your tool belt, but I think it can't be. I think it's got to be all or nothing is what it seems like. Do you know what I mean?
I don't even know what a tool in your tool belt even means for a presupper if I understand their system correctly.
Yeah. Because you don't need any tools except for
I mean, his thing was only believe.
There you go.
That's the name of his, and he uses I mean, you can get me started.
We're already getting fired. Are we talking the Chiefs and a flag? Or are we talking presup? I can't tell.
Yeah, it's the same. He uses this narrative that we've talked about before in the juxtaposition.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I saw the mark. Yeah.
So this guy is like, he's like, hey, my 12-year-old daughter is sick. Jesus gets interrupted by this, I think she's a Gentile, right?
Yeah, Syrophoenician or something.
Yeah, Syrophoenician, and she's had an issue of blood for 12 years. So you're pointing out those similarities. And he's like, who touched me? And the disciples are like, we're in a crowd, Jesus. Everyone's touching you. So no, power went out. And sorry to derail us, but I just got to tell the story.
Yeah.
And so, he finishes up with her, and then someone during that time comes to Jairus.
Yeah, whatever.
And basically says your daughter has died, and Jesus says to him in a time of emotional distress, in a time of, hey, just believe, have faith in me. And of course, you should take that as how that is what Jesus meant there was, this is how you give the gospel. Amen. You just go around people and say, only believe. And if they don't, you just wash your hands of them. Don't interact with them at all. Just say, shake the dust off your sandals. There you go.
Yeah, well, let's get into it where they would base foundational thought for a pre-supper, which you might agree with this. There's no such thing as a neutral thinker. There's only competing worldviews. When you get to the bottom of it, they're all rooted in their own ultimate authority claims. And so we live in this world. We live in the science age. It tells us to be objective, to follow the evidence, leave faith out of it, whether it's a podcast, a classroom, a conversation with a skeptic. The assumption a lot of times is the same, that if we find some common ground, some neutral ground, we can all stand, we can look at the facts, come to our conclusions, we can remove bias. And what a pre-supper would say, what if neutrality actually is a myth? And they'll say this a lot. What if no one comes to the table without bringing not only assumptions, but deeply rooted assumptions about reality, truth, and authority? And I think what this guy, Paul Taylor, said in his book was, evidence isn't the problem. I think he used the analogy like you read a mystery novel. Everyone's got the same evidence, but there's like shape-shifting. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so he's like, evidence, what's that even mean anyway? And I think that's an idea that pre-suppers are going to look to, where you just got to get at the root of it all. You need to get underneath all of this if you're going to engage with someone.
Yeah. And he specifically gives the example of Ken Ham and answers in Genesis. And he says that Ken Ham said that I used to give evidence for creation, and then evolutionists, they didn't just buy it. They would come back and they would bring their own evidence. And then I would bring our evidence, and then they would bring their own evidence. And finally, I stopped doing that. And I just wanted to point out that your presuppositions will color how you view the evidence. I think that gives away so much, because it's almost as if you're saying, my system coheres, your system coheres. There's no real difference for you to tell which one is actually right. It all hinges on your presuppositions. Now, I know what someone else is, that's how they argue. And in the book, sometimes he leaves it flat like that.
Yep, he does. Yeah.
I think what he would come in at that time and say is, he would talk about the precondition of knowledge, and he would say, our presuppositions make sense of the world. They give you a foundation for knowledge and logic.
Yeah.
But when you do that, you are giving evidence for your view.
Yeah. So you're saying they're undercutting.
They are doing the very thing that they say they can't do. They're giving an argument that a classical apologist would give. I'll give the transcendental argument all the time. There's many forms of it. The moral argument, the pure transcendental argument, the argument from applicability of mathematics. I could go down the list. Argument for consciousness, life, all those things, they transcend the physical world. And so I'd stand right next to the pre-supper and say, yes, an atheist, materialist view of the world cannot make sense of those things. And so I know you're talking about this big idea of no neutral ground. Just to come full circle back to no neutral ground, as a good Calvinist, sovereign grace guy, I say, there's no neutral ground. But I don't know who's been elected and who's not. And these are means, just giving the gospel to someone, they're using the same mind that they would use to evaluate the bad news and the good news of the gospel that they'd use to evaluate the cosmological argument, right?
Yep.
So you can't get around that. Sorry.
No, it's good. I like this interaction because this is good, because really my experience comes from this book, Only Believe. I did listen to the Bahnsen Stein debate and the Bahnsen Sproul debate to kind of get the intramural side of it too, which I thought was really, really helpful as well.
Bahnsen Stein debate, beautiful. I listen to that and I go, this is great. Especially the part that gets a lot of play where, and I wish debates did this today
Yeah.
because they don't anymore, where you have this
cross-examination.
the cross-examination
that's great.
thing,
So good, yeah.
where you get to ask yes or no questions.
Straight to them, yeah.
Yeah, straight to them. I think that's so good because you have this interaction between Bonson and Stein where I can't remember which one goes first, but basically Bonson gets Stein to admit that he believes in the laws of logic.
Yeah.
And he says, and it's like Stein doesn't
It's
even
great.
really
He
listen to
does
it
it.
because then he turns right around and he's like, do you believe in anything that's immaterial? And he's like, yes, the laws of logic. Like what you just, but I would argue Bonson is not arguing like a
presupper.
He's
But he's like the
arguing
king of
as a
presup.
classical apologist. Like
There
he
you
may
go.
be limited in his scope of what he's arguing for, but he is arguing like a classical apologist there.
No, I think that's good. If we were to define precept apologetics, we might define it as a system that argues that Christianity is not merely one possible explanation of reality. It is the necessary foundation that makes knowledge, logic, science, and morality possible at all. And someone like Van Til, really kind of the godfather of all this, would say, you really can't reason to God unless you're reasoning from God. And you'll hear this a lot in their arguments that they're borrowing from God's worldview. You cannot make your argument without a Christian worldview. In his book, Paul Taylor would say it's like someone telling you words aren't important and words don't matter and you can't communicate with words because they're using words to communicate their argument. He's saying that's what an unbeliever sounds like. They're borrowing from a Christian worldview that doesn't really make sense in their worldview, but that's how they have to make their point.
Yeah, so crossing streams a little bit, because what I understand a pure presupposition to say, he would say, you believe in words because you're using words. I'm not even going to tell you that words exist because you're using them. And so to make the analogy come back, you'd have to tell the atheist, you believe in God. You do believe in God. And I think from Scripture, there's a sense when we could all say everyone deep down has suppressed the truth of God. That's what Romans 1 would tell us. And so we'd say that there is this self-deception, and they traded the Creator for creation. They didn't give thanks to Him, and God gives them over.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if you've ever talked to an atheist and argued, but I've never found it helpful to say, you actually do believe in God.
Yeah.
But
exactly.
But Romans 1 says that the invisible qualities of God are plainly seen by His creation. So
you're trying to point those out more. And this is good because in the Bonson-Sproul debate, it's funny because they both were appealing to Romans 1. You know what I mean? And Sproul's like, he's like, one of his concerns were, man, you're really minimizing natural revelation. We're given two books. You're minimizing this book, is what Sproul was saying.
Well, this Van Til, you cannot reason to God. Paul didn't think that because he's saying you could plainly see the invisible attributes. I don't think David thought that either. The heavens are telling of the glory of God, and their expanse is declaring the work of His hands. David is saying you can look at the stars and you can reason to the fact that there is a God.
Well, let's zoom out real quick. Apologetic approaches, and you're the expert here. Let's talk evidential apologetics. If you had to, give a paragraph definition, how would you describe evidential apologetics?
Yeah, can I start slightly
back
different?
up. Yep.
I would say there's broadly two huge classes. And then there's a third stepchild that we don't ever talk about.
Okay.
So the biggest class is classical apologetics. Generally, classical apologetics is described as a two-step method. Yeah,
and that would be a critique. A precept would say that in a bad way. Like, I just go straight to the source. Why are we two-stepping?
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, you can't, you should, Norm Geisler has, all these things. You can't, anyways.
Yeah.
He addresses all those things. But it's classically two-stepper. Some have even said three steps now with the advent of extreme modernism, aka postmodernism,
it's even
where people don't
farther
believe in
away.
the truth. Sometimes you have to argue that truth exists.
Yeah, it's
then
tough.
you argue that God exists. Then you argue that the New Testament, the Bible is trustworthy, and Jesus, the revelation about Jesus is true. And so largely you're first getting them into a view of theism. And then you're saying, and Christian theism is the right one.
And you might say like William Lane Craig or someone would fall into this bucket.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
William Lane Craig, Greg Koukl, Norm Geisler, R.C. Sproul. The list goes on.
R.C. Sproul's the good one to have in your back pocket. That's like really good because he's like real. You know what I mean?
Paul.
Yeah.
And so then I would say under that broad umbrella, a classical apologist might use evidentiary, historical, legal. So he might put a whole bunch of different things in his tool belt so that he can meet the person where they are. Where your hang up is, that's what I want to address. And I, as a classical apologist, I see my job largely as stripping away the facade and making you really realize, okay, I don't have a good, we talk about emotional reasons for not believing in God. Volitional reasons or intellectual reasons. And I'm trying to strip away all your intellectual reasons so you can tell, hey, this is just an emotional reason, like you're mad at God because he won't let you sin, or because your grandmother died, or this is just you're being rebellious, and helping you come face to face with who you are.
That's good.
So then that's a big camp. So I would say that evidential apologetics would be underneath the broad umbrella of classical apologetics. But basically you are looking at, there's archaeological, evidential. Some try to argue only what would pass in a court. I don't know why you would do that. So we call that legal apologetics. And then there's presup, and then there's fideism, where you don't do any apologetics. You're just it's a matter of faith only type of thing.
Presup's not far from that. And it's something, in the little bit I've read, I do appreciate you're calling this person to repentance, or you'll be like, hey, you're sinful, and this is, you can do that in a bad way and a good way. And it probably depends on the person. I think a presupper would, this is what I always hear from presuppers. I don't know if it's in the notes, but they're like, when you talk about neutral ground, you're trying to meet someone where there is, they'll be like, why are you putting God on trial? Or you know what I mean? They use that kind of language God should stand above you, not, you know what I mean? They'll say stuff like that.
Yeah, so you want me to address that?
Right, let's do it. This is the time to do it.
You're just waving some steak out in front of the lion.
Well, if you're bringing up you're meeting where there is, I think just to draw out the difference, a precept would be I don't want to meet them where they are necessarily. I want to judge them on behalf of God. They wouldn't say it that way, but they'll say they're talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would say that's bad.
Yeah, when Paul talked with Christians about their issues, he went right to New Testament scriptures. He just told them like it was. He was accepted as an apostle. When Paul talked to Jews, he reasoned from the Old Testament scriptures. He did that in the synagogues. When Paul talked to Greeks, he would reference Old Testament scriptures, but he also brought in their own poets. And if you look at what he has to say on Mars Hill, he addresses the three big questions that the pre-Socratic and Socratic philosophers from Greek philosophy ask. What does it mean to exist? What does it mean to be alive? What does it mean to change but be the same?
Yeah.
And he says we have our existence, our life, and we change or something like all that is found in Christ. So he is bringing this Greek philosophy to these Greek people and saying, hey, it's all in Christ. He's meeting them where they are. Some scoff, some we want to hear
different
more.
Responses,
some believe.
And that's all you can. Yeah, that's good. It's funny because I feel like that's it's funny because everyone's like Romans 1, everyone's like Acts 17, or everyone claims these, you know what I mean? Isn't that funny?
It's all based on your presuppositions.
Full circle. Talking about this myth of neutrality, a presupper would say that really every argument assumes the laws of logic, there's non-contradiction, the reliability of human senses, the uniformity of nature, objective moral standards. The key question, on what basis do these things exist? If it's really just random, if it's really just matter plus chance, how can you even have logic or objective standards? You pretend you do, but your whole basis doesn't account for that. And that's really, if you read these arguments, listen to these debates, they're a lot of times just going to hit this over and over, which I think is a good argument.
yeah.
But at some level, it's like you hear evidence presented. We're just like, hey, you can't argue with me because you're using, you know what
I
I'm
won't
saying?
allow you to argue with me.
Like
So I think this is, you brought up the Van Til argument. Like if someone tells me that he doesn't believe in words, I'm not going to.
Yes.
So we're going to use some big philosophical words.
Yeah.
So epistemology.
Okay.
The study of what you know.
Yeah.
Right. Or if I say epistemological, it has to do with what you know. If I say ontological, that means with
this is
what
good.
actually exists. Right.
Yeah, because this was Sproul made a. Did you listen to Sproul?
Oh, yeah.
Debate? Okay,
I
yeah.
mean, I took a whole class.
Okay, yes.
At a master's level on this. And so we listened to that whole Sproul Bonson debate. So when precepts are writing books and they're talking to themselves, they make an epistemological claim. They claim the atheist knows God exists. The atheist uses logic, and therefore he knows God exists. If you look and listen to Bonson's debate with Stein, he makes an ontological claim. He says that because of this, then God exists. And classical apologists do that all the time. We say, because the laws of logic, they're non-physical. Well, like we would say, consciousness is non-physical. Morality is non-physical. They have to be grounded in something. The only thing that makes sense for them to be grounded in is something that transcends the universe, because the universe is physical. So God must exist. And that's how Bonson argues with Stein. And I would say, yeah. But then when he's arguing with Sproul, he shifts to an epistemological argument. He says, you know. And so that's crazy. I would never say to an atheist, you know God exists because you just use a logical argument. I would say, because you use a logical argument, let's think about what logic is. Therefore, God exists. Can you not see that?
Yeah, no, in the limited clips, I did not look at these recently for this, but you look at Jeff Durbin, like street witnessing or something, he'll always, say, I'm maybe not always, I haven't listened to these in a long time, but like you're Stardust, you think you're just like Stardust, like how, and he'll just like kind of really, really get after that. Let's talk about worldviews clashing, getting to the root of what a preceptor would put forth. What's a worldview? Really kind of trying to drill down what's the grid you see life through, what's your ultimate authority, what do you trust to interpret reality? And a preceptor they're very out and open. Hey, I've got an ultimate authority. You have an ultimate authority. Everyone has one. They want to expose this point. And they'll belabor it. Like, what are you appealing to? What are you appealing to? Let's get to that, and let's just talk that. And you might say Christianity, God's revelation, Scripture is the ultimate authority. Secularism might look at human reason, autonomy as ultimate authority. Atheism, naturalism, matter, time, chance, ultimate authority. Islam, you might look at the Quran or Allah as ultimate authority. And there's no higher court of appeal above this ultimate authority. You can't, a presuppositionalist would say, you can't step outside of all worldviews and judge them neutrally. You're always inside of one, and that's going to color everything else. And so they want to get to the root, like, hey, what are you appealing to? And just like drill you on that kind of over and over and over and over again.
So one of the verses you have here.
Let's do it.
One that's listed that Paul Frank uses in his book, Only Believe. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. First, I would say this is written to someone who provisionally already believes.
Okay, yeah.
It's someone within the Jewish faith. It is Solomon talking to his son. My son, do not forget these teachings. Don't depart from what you know. So already I feel like we're pulling a verse out of context, because how they would use this is, you don't get to judge God. And they'll also use,
let's say that, yeah.
They'll use the verse from, I think it's Deuteronomy, that says, do not put the Lord your God to the test.
Yeah, right.
And this is where they're rejecting, I think it may be even Korah. It may be Korah. It's one place where the Israelites are rejecting Moses' leadership. And it says, do not put your God to the test. And they're going to use this to say, you should never look at the heavens to see if they declare the glory of the Lord. You should never look at creation to see if it reveals the hidden things of who God is. But I think this verse, if you use it how they do, it cuts both ways. Because at this level, I can't even give the atheist the gospel. I can't say, here's what Christ did for you. You are a sinner, because you're asking that atheist to judge the things that you just told them about Christ and make a decision about it. They are putting the gospel in the dock. They're being a judge of it, of whether they're going to accept it or not.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, the only thing that Zach has to make a decision is Zach's mind.
Oh, yeah.
Only thing I have to make a decision is my mind, right? Mm-hmm. And I have to, obviously I have the authority to help me make a decision. If I find this to be a trustworthy authority, then I can believe what it says. But I have to initially find it to be a trustworthy authority.
No, that makes sense. Well, let's keep going down, really getting, again, to kind of the core of presuppositionalism. They would say, we talked about it a little bit, people don't reject God because of lack of evidence. They reject him because they want to suppress the truth, relying on this Romans 1 framework. For a presup proponents, they're not going to say, let me prove God exists. They are going to say, hey, let me show you how you're borrowing from my worldview. You already depend on him. They're not looking at introducing this new information, like look at this new planet or look at this archaeological dig. They're just trying to show you you're inconsistent, your worldview doesn't work. We're kind of saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. Here's some illustration using logic, science, morality. You're using these things, but you're denying their foundation. You're using borrowed capital. You're quote unquote standing on God's lap. You're depending on God's word to argue against him. Or you're sawing off the branch on the proverbial tree. You're destroying the very foundation that makes reasoning even possible. And something that came up in these debates over, maybe it was Bonson Sproul, he was basically like, I don't want a probability of something. I want to know for certain. And if I'm looking at God's word, I know it's certain versus the preponderance of the evidence. Or that's something that I will hear them say too. You hear these things, the confidence factor.
Yeah. Paul Frank, in his book, Only Believe, says that the cosmological God he used the ID God. The ID God is only a probable God and is therefore no God at all, and it is idolatry.
He does say this. Yeah.
I mean, it's just a wild accusation. Okay, let's go back to some things you said.
Yeah, go for it.
I think, especially, so just to be clear, I don't think there is any, let me know if you are out there.
Yeah.
I don't think there is any Arminian who is a presupper.
I think you're right. And that's one reason I've said in the past I've been drawn to it is I think you come into this God's sovereignty world. Those are people that embrace that. And so it's it's different. Yeah.
So me not being an Arminian, I agree with everything. I agree with not everything, but a lot of what we're saying. You were reading that people don't reject God because of lack of evidence. They reject him because of suppression of truth. Yes and amen to a degree.
Yeah.
Right? But in Romans, one could also say people don't reject the gospel because of lack of evidence. They reject the gospel because they reject the truth. Yeah. So, but we're still called to give the gospel.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Mark, the opening of Mark, Jesus tells a parable about a sower of seed who goes out and throws seed out.
Yep.
And he goes to bed, he wakes up, and he doesn't know why it grew. Some of it grew, some of it didn't. And the Lord caused the increase. Paul, in his letter to the 1 Corinthians, would say, you shouldn't be saying you're of Apollos and you're of Paul and I'm of Christ, because while some planted, some watered, God ultimately brought about the increase. Jesus, after he gets done talking to the woman of Samaria, she goes into the town, the disciples come up, they're like, are you hungry? And it's like, I've already eaten. Like, where do you get food?
Yeah.
And my food is doing the will of the Lord. And he says, raise up your eyes and look at the harvest coming out of Samaria.
Okay, yeah.
You did not plant it, you did not water it, but you are going to harvest it. Okay. All of these things talk about a process.
Yep.
I think most of us, if you're a believer, there were times when you weren't a believer and you could tell God was dealing with you through various things in your life to open up your eyes to the truth of the gospel. apologetics is one of those mechanisms, just like someone being a good father could be one of those mechanisms. A Sunday school teacher can be one of those mechanisms. Romans 10 is going to say, how are they going to believe if you don't tell them? Like, there are means to these sovereign decisions. Classical apologetics can and has.
Have they saved anyone? No.
Yeah. No. Apologetics hasn't saved anyone. Jesus Christ has. Evangelism hasn't saved anyone. Jesus Christ has. You know what I'm saying? Like, ultimately, it's the Spirit.
Yep, totally.
And so, All right.
No, I think this is good. A pre-supper would, at the end of the day, and one thing, maybe this is the other reason I like presuppositionalism, or I don't endorse it wholesale, but one thing that draws me to it is, you don't have to be an expert on everything. You can just say, like, you're inconsistent, but you know what I mean? It's like simple in that sense. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it is very simple.
It is, yeah. It's like easier.
Paul Frank's book, Only Believe.
Only Believe.
Only Believe.
Because
there's no more work.
What's tough for me is, and I think it's good to know all the basic arguments, whether you're, a hardcore apologist or not, you should be equipped with these kind of things. And I'm like fine with those. I probably say a syllogism wrong, but I get the gist of it enough. What gets me is, like, you're talking to someone and they're like, you say, hey, you talk about this one issue, and then they're like, well, what about this? It's like, sometimes the target's always moving because we don't believe. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
And I'm like, I just don't have time to research every little thing, and we keep moving, and it's like, I feel exasperated at some point. Do you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a guy I worked with, good guy, was a nominal Christian as a younger guy, rejected his faith, and I sat down with him probably for 4 or 5 lunches, and we would talk for an hour and a half, and I would just his name was Jacob, I'd be like, Jacob, I'm happy to answer this.
Yeah.
But do you see how we're shifting subjects here? Like, we were talking about this, we need to, like, see this through. So sometimes that's just, kind of art of the conversation, because we would go all over, and like, you want to answer all the stuff, but it's like, it can be exhausting. And at the end of the day, did I save him? No. Did apologetics save him? No. He knows the gospel.
Yep. Yeah. Right.
He's rejecting it because he's suppressing the truth and unrighteousness. Do I think that I sinned against God or used unbiblical methods because
that's where I think you're taking it, not you taking it, but like a presupposition might be taking it too far when they're like, this is sinful, or you know what I mean? Because some people are, like, I think part of it is if you really embrace precept totally, then you kind of do have to think other ways are sinful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard. That's why I can't endorse it wholesale, because I'm like, I feel like,
to me, my job is to politely slap people on the face and say, look, the heavens are declaring the glory of the Lord here. Look here. Look here. Look here. You cannot miss the fact that God is shouting, I'm here, and this book, unlike any other book, is trustworthy, and it has bad news in it, and it has good news in it. Yeah. And you don't want the bad news.
You don't. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Great. Last thing I'll say from our notes, kind of wrapping it up. For their confidence, they'll say Christianity is the only worldview that accounts for truth. When it comes to humility, unbelief is not intellectual superiority. It's more moral and spiritual. Suppression is what you see. And then it's not about data dumping. You're just trying to expose their worldview. And so you're going to ask a lot of these questions. By what standard? How do you account for logic? Why do you trust your reasoning? What makes something morally wrong? And really press into these. But anyway, I think this is a good episode on precept. But I think it highlights what a presuppositionalist is all about, or what they would say. Maybe what are some concerns.
And I think I did a good job. Like, the viewers do not know where I fall.
No, this was like a total mystery. Like, everyone's like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen.
And I'll just say again, I think you said something like you could have presupp. I don't think you could have presupp the thought process in your toolbox, but you could have these questions that you just asked.
That's what I mean. That's what I think when I think a lot of transcendental.
The transcendental argument. Exactly. It's one of, we covered that. We covered the transcendental argument. Yeah, we covered the Kalam cosmological argument. We covered fine tuning. So yes, you can have the transcendental argumentation in your tool belt, and there's nothing wrong with asking someone, how do you account for logic? Why trust your reasoning? If evolution is true, it didn't gear you up to believe in no truth. It geared you up to get your genes to the next generation.
Yeah, what's the point? And I think it was in the Bonson-Stein debate. Stein was like, here's 8 arguments that I can show that they're flawed or like they're inconsistent or something like that. And he went through like 7 arguments, but none of them were the transcendental argument. But he went through a bunch of other arguments, cosmological, teleological, all these. And Bonson was like, man, you just like missed the only one that I care about. He's like, and Bonson was like, oh yeah, I think all those other ones are flawed. That's what he said. He was like, oh yeah, there's definitely like he like gave that, you know.
It's been a minute. I need to go re-listen to it, but I think one of the ones that Stein brings up is some form of the cosmological argument.
Yeah.
He asked, okay, who created God? And it's like, you don't understand the premises if you're asking that. One time Greg was talking with Michael Shermer in a debate, and Michael Shermer asked Greg, like, okay, you believe God, who created God? And he said, Michael, that is an intellectually dishonest question. You don't believe God had a creator because you don't believe in God. You know, as a good theist, I don't believe God had a creator. So why are you asking this question? Just turn it right back around on him. So it baffles me why one would let that through, you know, like Bonson did there. But whatever.
Yeah, Bonson, man. Well, there you go. Do we transition to our final take?
I think so.
Let's talk. Final take. Last time we did a much better job of outlining what we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
This time,
I'll just say I feel like.
Yeah.
I told Jill this yesterday. I felt like I just got hit by a Mack truck.
Oh, with everything that's been going on.
Yeah. Have we already talked about this? Maybe I don't
think we did. Well, maybe we did. I'm losing my mind as well. So,
but so today is Tuesday. Sunday, I taught Sunday school.
Yeah.
And I hear you're skipping my Sunday school next week. Is that true?
Who told you this? Who told you this?
Danny.
Yeah. He wants me to moderate a
call with
conversation.
Jacob Lowry.
Yeah.
It'd be good.
We'll maybe talk pre-sup. It'll be fine.
And then I preached, and then DM'd our final session of the first. You know, if you were writing a book, this would be the end of the book, or if you were writing a trilogy, this might be the end of the short little trilogy. Now there are some threads, like any good
storytelling.
You leave some threads that
unfinished business
that could some unfinished business that they could. But so I was like,
that's big.
I was busy.
How long was the D&D session? I must ask.
We got done at 10:30, and we started at a little after 1, like 1:30, so about maybe 9 hours.
Wow, that's very long. I know
we did break. Like we take breaks.
No, straight through. You guys aren't hardcore.
For
Only
eating
hardcore
and
people
stuff.
would go no eating. Yeah, we did like Danny and I did like a potential member interview kind of thing, and it went kind of long. Like it got done like a little after 1, and I was like, oh wow, the D&D group's here.
Yeah. We went to eat at Waffle House and then came back. So yeah, we were getting set up as y'all were leaving.
Oh, gotcha. I was like, wow. So man, that is a day. Goodness. Yeah.
And Monday I took a little bit of time off of work that morning, but I had to take Julia to choir practice early. I was like, I'll just take her, come back, and just go right back to sleep. I was like, I'm not even going to drink coffee.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going to take her in. And I just laid there, and I couldn't fall back asleep. And I was like, I'm not tired, but I am tired, you know?
Oh, yeah. I've been there, man. That's big. So, yeah, anything else? I know you're still going through Sunday school. I guess the perfect storm's not hitting for a while, but still going Sunday school, going strong. D&D happens once a month, so you got...
Once a month, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, some people were saying I should have led singing Sunday, but that would have just been...
Oh, you could have done it.
It'd been crazy. I mean, I could have. I think I could have, but who wants to listen to me that much? Like, if you're in my Sunday school, if you are a D&D player in my Sunday school class, you would have heard me Sunday school.
That's great.
Singing, preaching, and then
You should
D&D.
have greeted at the doors and done announcements. Just maybe run back to the
done
sound booth
everything.
real quick, change a few things, There you go. Just do it all. Sweet. Good. Anything else you can think of?
I know. I mean, this is like relatively short compared to the one we just
Boy,
recorded
sorry.
on.
I know. I feel bad.
Historic pre-mill.
All right. Well, that's our take. Thanks for listening to Take Two. Find us wherever you find podcasts and on YouTube for those who want to watch our video cast.